Imagine if America wanted to build a 911 GT3. Actually, let's take that a step further. Imagine if America wanted to build a Ferrari. What would it be like?
Well, the C8 Corvette Z06 gives us the answer to those questions.
This is why the C8 Corvette had to go mid-engine. For Chevrolet to deliver a car that could go toe-to-toe with the best performance machinery from around the world, it had to adopt the same configuration as those it was chasing. But it didn't stop there. An all-new 5.5 litre flat-plane crank V8 was created, revving to 8.5 grand and producing 475 kilowatts and 595 newton meters. The 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox carries over from the Stingray, but with a shorter final drive. 0 to 100 is claimed to take just 3 seconds dead. The chassis has had an equally thorough going over. At the front there are 20-inch rims wearing 275 tyres, but a 94mm wider rear end allows the fitment of 21s with massive 345mm wide rubber. Add larger brakes, standard magnetic ride control dampers, more cooling and some aero, and you have a track-focused Corvette that'll set you back $336,000 plus on-road costs. But this isn't the real Z06. For that, you need to stump up another 50 grand for the Z07 package, which adds carbon ceramic brakes, Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 R tyres, a unique setup for the magnetic ride, and wings that double the downforce at 300 k's an hour. Then dig further for the $23,000 carbon fibre wheels that shed almost 19 kilograms of unsprung weight. For this ultimate Z06, you'll need more than $400,000, and it's how our test car is spec'd, aside from Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, replacing the Cup 2 Rs. It's a supercar spec and a supercar price tag. But is it a supercar driving experience?
To peel back the curtain somewhat, I originally did my pieces to camera for this car on the day we picked it up and we filmed the other vision. And turns out the GoPro stuffed up and we lost the footage. But I think that was karma. It was the universe saying, never record your pieces to camera before you've had a proper chance to drive the car. It's the problem with all car launch reviews. You've only spent a tiny amount of time in the car and yet you're expected to deliver a proper verdict on it. And the issue there was I'd just gotten out of a week with the E-Ray, and in a sense that was good because it allowed me to have a proper back-to-back comparison of the two cars of what this does better and not so good. But it meant that I hadn't really lived with this car, hadn't spent much time with it, hadn't got to know it. And my verdict today, a week later, is a little bit different to that I delivered last week. Part of the problem was I'd gotten used to the E-Ray, and I really like the E-Ray. I missed its torque, I missed its sound, I missed its ride, I missed its breadth of capability. Because, as I'll get to now with the Z06, this every day isn't as nice a car as the E-Ray. The ride is appreciably firmer. I'm in tour mode at the moment, and the ride is probably firmer than even Sport in the E-Ray. This is obviously the Z06 and it has the Z07 package on top of that, so it's got a unique calibration again. I don't know if it's firmer, but I wouldn't be surprised given how this car rides. It still rides okay. I need a back-to-back comparison to be sure, but I'd say this still rides a little bit better, or at least more comfortably than a 911 GT3 and 992, but it is definitely a firmer car. You might be able to hear it on the camera as well. That didn't rattle last week. It does now. I don't know if it's the passenger seat or something in the roof, but it is kind of annoying. Apart from that, you do miss the torque, the ability in the E-Ray. I did a thing in the E-Ray where I just selected 7th, put my foot down, and it went woof, I've got my foot to the floor at the moment in 6th gear in the Z06, and it's going basically nowhere. It just doesn't have the same grunt, doesn't have the same pickup, nor does it have the same noise. Just being flat plane, just tootling around, just cruising around, it's just a bit of a hum. It's just a bit of a noiseless hum. But now I've spent more time with this car, I'm going to spend a moment longer talking about what this car is like to drive when cruising. Let's select my mode, select manual, and have a proper go. The my mode allows me to pick and choose the settings I want for the various vehicle parameters, and I could just choose sport, but I haven't chosen sport because that gives me sport steering, and I don't want sport steering. It adds extra weight for no reason, just gives me extra effort. So I've got the powertrain in the maximum attack mode, I've got the steering in comfort still, or tour, I've got the suspension in the middle sport setting just for a bit of extra control, although this car could probably use comfort. That's okay. And I've got the brakes in sport because I put them in track originally and it really needed quite a big firm. It felt almost unassisted. So I've just backed those off to sport for the road. And this is one awesome bit of kit. As I mentioned, I originally did my pieces to camera last week and I hadn't spent enough time in the car. I hadn't really got to grips with its personality and what it did well. I love that it's stand down when I did the track test. You can find that elsewhere on my channel. I'll put the link up here. But I still had the E-Ray in my mind. I missed the torque. Whereas now, it's actually got heaps of torque. Right down low, short. It's lacking a bit of grunt, but you just have to stop being lazy. If the car will give you a downshift, you've got to use the downshift. Keep the revs above 6.5, because you've got the RPM bandwidth to play with, and it is absolutely unbelievable. It does, I mean, it just sounds and kind of feels like Ferrari 458. Unsurprisingly, given the configuration of the engine being a flat plane crank V8, the other thing is you appreciate the way the power just builds and builds and builds and just becomes absolutely feral when it nears redline. So the benefit of this is it feels so much lighter than the E-Ray. That's because it is. I think it's 200 kilos, 250 kilograms. But if anything, it feels more. It feels so agile. The steering is lighter. Now, on a road like this, makes the car feel so much more alive. It feels so much lighter and so much more agile than the E-Ray. I think it's about 200, 250 kilograms, but if anything, it feels more. And now on a road like this just makes the car feel so accurate. You can place it with such confidence because you don't have the weight pulling you away. The downside to that is it's a bit of a busier experience. It moves to cambers, it moves to bumps. The stiffer setup doesn't help that either, but it also makes it hugely exciting. The car feels so alive. There you go, stop being lazy, stop using the torque, use the revs. My initial verdict was that for the road, the E-Ray is the better choice. And then if you're just going to drive on the road, you might as well have a Stingray instead of the Z06. That might have been nonsense. The Stingray is a great car. It's really fast. It gets its performance more easily than this car, having more torque down low. It sounds better when you're just cruising around. But this has highs that neither car can match. I think the overall verdict is probably still accurate. The E-Ray rides better, it's unbelievably fast. It's got that all-weather capability, being all-wheel drive, but I don't know that it can put a smile on your face like this car can. Look at this smile. This is a Z06 smile. The steering's better in this car than the E-Ray. There's more communication. There's more feedback through the wheel. There's probably still another level to go compared to the very best systems, but I'm kind of nitpicking. It really does what you need it to. Brakes are fantastic. Incredible power. Incredible feel. How to wrap up the Corvette Z06? I'm going to pretend the regular Z06 doesn't exist. If you're getting this car, get the Z07 package. It just makes it complete. Carbon wheels, carbon ceramic brakes, the wings, the revised suspension. I know it's a lot of extra money, but make the car as good as it can be. I think if you're just going to do 1 or 2 track days a year and drive mainly on the road, the E-Ray is still a better choice. It's got a bit more day-to-day character, it's got more speed. It's still a fantastic thing to drive. I'm glad I had to do this again because wind this engine up, and this is a properly special car. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.